To Be a Geek, the podcast where we dive into the vibrant and ever-evolving world of geek culture. Whether you're a seasoned fan or just curious about what makes being a geek so special, join us as we explore everything from comics to movies, gaming, tech, sports, and everything in between. Each episode will bring you insights, interviews, and the latest news to fuel your passion and expand your horizons. So grab your favorite fandom and let's embark on this geeky adventure together. I'm Michael Canetti, and this is So You Want to Be a Geek.
Hi everybody, and welcome back to another episode of So You Want to Be a Geek. And we're getting geeky about dance today. And I have two fantastic guests of the Royal Dance Center in Babylon, New York, to talk about dance and give me, a girl dad, an education on things that I know very little about and I'm always overwhelmed with. So I have Rosa, the owner of our studio here. How are you, Rosa?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And I have Kayla here, who is one of their dance instructors. Hi, Kayla. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Now, as an instructor, how do you find, because each child or each student is different. So how do you find that the way can tap into their strengths and help them achieve their goals, but also get over the adversities they might have challenges in doing certain things?
Well, I grew up with an older cousin who has Down syndrome, so I've always been able to communicate well with him, and I've just always had a connection with him, and I feel like that helps me a lot as an instructor, because certain kids you don't know what's going on with them sometimes, so I feel like that really helped me be able to tap into all these different children, and I've always I've always liked teaching kids. I don't know, kids are just it just gives me a reason to express certain things that you can't express teaching older kids or adults, and it brings out the inner child that I never really get to.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
Now, you're a teacher. Are you also going to school to be a teacher in your life?
Yes, I am.
Wow. So, I mean, I think in a way, having that teaching background in the academic world helps relate to the students in the studio, because you can sort of compartmentalize that leadership, the experience, but also getting them to buy into what you're trying to convey teaching. Am I assuming that correctly? Yeah?
There's definitely a correlation. Almost our entire staff has a degree in education or is pursuing a degree in education, and that definitely helps. I also am a certified psychologist as well. All of that background definitely plays a role into understanding the development of every child and the needs of every child, and also to be able to develop programs that are appropriate for every child, which is always our goal.
So how do you balance teaching full-time or running a business full-time? Do you divide yourself in half?
Honestly, it's consistency, it's time management, and it's my staff. I'm very fortunate. My husband has a saying that my staff is organically grown, which is the truth. For example, Kayla's been with me for over 17 years. Most of my instructors have been with me since day one, since they can walk, and they've grown up with me in the studio, previous studio that I've worked at, and also have developed now into an instructor. So I feel like when you have that relationship and you have that reliable staff, anything is possible. I would not have expanded if I did not feel confident in my staff, because it's a lot to handle at once. But it just works. We all help each other. Everybody helps each other and communicates, and we just make it work.
What made you decide to expand and have the competition side of things? What would be, catalyst for that?
So I always wanted a business where I had both sides. I grew up as a competitive dancer. It was always something that was very important to me, but I always wanted to also cater to the dancer who just wanted to come for fun once a week. So when I opened the studio, I wanted to have both sides, and I always remind my instructors they also teach both sides and that there are two sides of dance. So I just wanted to be able to challenge those who wanted that further education in dance and wanted to compete competitively. And so far it's been great. Our team expands every year.
Dance is funny, right? Because I feel like I'm very big into yoga. I feel like dance and yoga have similar foundations and fundamentals to help in other aspects of things. You hear a lot of athletes who do ballet or theater performers that are coming to do tap classes or whatnot. It touches on so many different things that you're like, a person doesn't need to be like, I'm gonna be a rockette, but I love being in theater. I love being a performer. I love just the mental and physical demands that dance requires that parlays into so many other things. And I find that so cool. And I even noticed it with the recital. We were just like, you were tapping into different student skill sets. There was the one girl that was doing flips and others that are doing splits of it. And you were able to sort of identify the strengths that these young ladies have and tap into that, which I think is a very cool thing. And I love that. It's really, really cool. When you're meeting somebody for the first time, and let's say a mom or a dad, and my child wants to get into dance, I have 2 left feet, but how do I help encourage them into pursuing their passion?
Well, first, I always ask for the background of any dancer to find out if they have any prior experience so I can ensure that they're properly placed. So our classes are not by age. They're by age and level, which is very different than other studios, because if a dancer, let's say, is 7 or 8, but they're more advanced than, let's say, someone else is 7 and 8, then why can't we push them ahead into a different level? So I'm very carefully level our dancers into ensuring that we meet their needs. But first, I get their prior experience and their backgrounds. And then from there, I have them do trial classes, and not just one, multiple. They can do as many as they would like. And then from there, we navigate, and I always ensure that I'm here to see them and see what best fits that child. Are they happy in those classes? And we take it from there. So it's really overall meeting the child's needs.
So one of the things that I'm always curious about is like the culture behind dance, right? But because people that get into dance love it, and like it becomes a part of that. And how you create that culture here in the studio that people want to keep coming back here?
I think first, once you relate to that passion in dance, and the reason why most people love it is it's a way for you to express yourself without judgment. And that's really important to anybody, and it's accepting of everybody. But for us, it's just, I always encourage this in my instructors and myself as well, and remind myself, like, the energy that you bring and your spirit that you bring to the room is the energy that your dancers are going to have. So if you're instilling confidence and you're giving them motivation and you're dancing with them and you're happy and bringing that aspect, your dancers are going to have the same result. Obviously, some dancers need more of it than others, depending upon their background and their home life and situations. But again, I always remind my instructors, you set the tone.
What do you think is sort of like the future of dance and how it's going to grow and progress? And because there's so many shows and things like that, and there's such more social acceptance to being cool now and being a sport, and not just being like, oh, dance is just, something that people do, but how do you see it growing?
I think it's going to continue to grow in all directions. So, for example, we're at a competition. It's usually 1,000 routines a weekend. It's sold out. It's like looks like Times Square, and I'm trying to buddy everybody up so we don't lose anyone. That's definitely expanding that world itself, because either the competitive side and or the reality shows, I'm sure it all plays a factor. The recreational side definitely continues to grow as well, as we're developing new programs, but not just myself, all other studio owners are developing new programs as well. So both sides are continuing to grow, and I really do feel that it's going to continue to grow.
Now, how do kids take feedback from judges at a competition, and how do you help them receive that? That could be sometimes hard to hear for a little kid or even for an adult.
So we have a dress rehearsal before we go to the first 2 competitions, and our teachers give feedback to all of the dancers, whether the routines are ours or not. So we kind of set them up for that. And I tell them, every judge that's judging you at a competition, they don't know you. It's all perspective. So you're going to get multiple angles. And what one judge says can contradict what the second judge says, which also happens to be the case more often than not. So you have to understand all sides, and then together we make a decision how we're going to modify this for our next event. But we do it in a private setting. So we get our critiques about like a few days after our event, and we sit with our dancers. We listen to them, just that routine and the instructor. We take notes, we talk about it, and then we modify anything before our next event. And it works out really well in more of a private setting rather than a larger group. And the dancers are really accepting of it, but that's also a conversation that I have with every parent before they sign up for a competitive team. Your dancer has to be able to accept feedback, and we will work on that. but we need your help with that. So getting the parents on board is also key with that.
But that also helps with their confidence growing up as they get older, right? Because, like I said, everyone's got insecurities. Everyone's been picked on for having the wrong kind of sneaker on or whatever. But if you, at a young age, start receiving constructive feedback and know how to listen to it and grow from that, it'll help you sort of be a stronger, more independent person. And like you said, type A personality. It gives you that confidence to be like, okay, I don't care if somebody's picking on me at school, because when I'm in this space, in this studio, all that stuff turns off because I can be me in that space, right?
So a lot of my older dancers wrote in their Christmas cards to me. It's nice. My staff writes me all personal messages, and I do the same to them every year, about it being such a safe haven for them. And that's so important for me to see, because that's what I wanted. This is your safe haven. This is your home. This is the place without judgment. And this is the place where you get to be anything you want to be.
I couldn't have wrapped that up better by saying nasty.
The ladies, thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure. I'm so glad I was able to spend a Monday with you both and chat about dance and get a nice little education. And I hope everybody enjoyed our episode here. You can find us on our social media at TikTok and Instagram and YouTube at SYWTDAG. It's So You Want to Be a Geek, for swipbag.com if you want to get super geeky. Tons of new content coming out soon. Also have a T Public store. You can get some merch if you'd like. But until next time, stay geeky, everybody. Bye for now.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of So You Want to Be a Geek. We'd like to thank the Geekster Media Network. I'm Michael Canetti. I'm your host, producer, and editor. We hope you enjoyed the journey into geekdom as much as we did. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Switbag for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and more geeky goodness. Have a topic you'd like us to discuss, or a guest you'd like to hear from? Let us know. So You Want to Be a Geek at gmail.com, and stay up to date and join the conversation. Until next time, keep embracing that inner geek, and remember, the adventure never ends.